Check it out. Let me tell you one.
Freedom for all!
What is up, my MMA brothers and sisters? Welcome to episode 11 of Let's Talk MMA. I'm your host, Raul. I'm going to talk about Fight Night this coming Sunday, not Saturday, Sunday, of BJ Penn, Yair Rodriguez. And I want to just keep this nice and short because the biggest and most exciting thing for me, and I'm going to try to push that excitement onto you guys, is the return of BJ Penn. Now, we had a kind of one of those returns with Ronda Rousey. Obviously did not go too well, but BJ Penn is a whole nother story. And I want to try to tell that story right now, and hope you guys enjoy it. So let's jump into his record. So we're going to kind of go into a little bit of a past, and I'm wearing this shirt. This shirt is one of our shirts from rated101.com. It says, "Without ups and downs, you are not living. You're not living." And I wore this shirt for this episode because I felt it was very relevant to the story I'm about to paint for you guys, which is BJ Penn's career. 170 pounds, 155 pounds, going up and down, successes, fails, all of the above. So let's just kind of go all the way up until we get to the current fight that's coming up with Yair Rodriguez and see, can BJ Penn beat this guy? Because Yair Rodriguez is no joke. This is a tough task. It wouldn't have been my choice of return fight, but hey, this is the fight. He signed on the dotted line. It's going to happen on Sunday, and we'll talk about what he needs to do to win that fight. But let's go through this career really quick. So I want to start this story at UFC 46. Now, keep in mind, BJ Penn, his debut was UFC 31. All right, so if you are a recent kind of fan, don't really know too much about the earlier UFCs, that's why BJ Penn returning is kind of a big deal, and there's a lot of questions about this return. But we're going to go right to UFC 46. UFC 46, BJ Penn, a person that his main successes and his main weight class should be at 155 pounds. Either way, UFC 46, he goes up to 175 pounds and challenges Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes, who was a very dominant welterweight champion. So he gets into this fight, and it's a round one submission. Whoa! Blew everybody's mind. BJ Penn has arrived. He had good wins before that, but now he's the champion of a welterweight, 170 pounds. All right? Then he actually leaves the UFC. He fights Dwayne Ludwig, which is now the coach of TJ Dillashaw. That's where you kind of probably remember that name. He fights Rodrigo Gracie. That was probably a really good jiu-jitsu match. That was by decision, but those were outside of UFC. So during that time, UFC stripped him. Y'all know that word. Stripped him of the welterweight belt. The show went on, but upon return, UFC 58, he returns. He even returned with his belt on, because obviously he won it before. At that time, he was like, "Hey, I'm still the champ." Yeah, UFC stripped me of the title, but he walked in with his original belt as like the champion is here, and he fought GSP. Everybody knows GSP, but he lost. He had a great first round, but then basically the grappling of GSP took over in round 2, round 3, and he didn't. I mean, I guess he didn't really lose the belt, but he lost against a top contender at the time. And then we move on to UFC 63, where he then gets to fight Matt Hughes for the second time. Now, at this point, this is a title fight, but Matt Hughes is the champion. BJ was like, "I already beat you," so this was a big deal at that time. And unfortunately, he gets crucifixed in round 3 and TKOs. That was just like, whoa, what is going on? Now, during this whole time, you have to keep in mind, at 170, he's weighing in at 100. I think he weighed in for that fight 166 pounds. I mean, it was kind of like Conor trying to fight for 170 and coming in weighing at 168. It's just not his ideal weight class. And that's the kind of person we're dealing with here. BJ Penn took on all comers. This is a guy that fought Lyoto Machida, for goodness sake. Much bigger guy, so he's a fighter's fighter. But let's keep the story going. So 170, obviously now at this point, is not too good. In his history, he has the belt, but now he lost against GSP, Matt Hughes, the current champion at the time. So what does he do? he does a pretty good thing. He does the Ultimate Fighter versus Jens Pulver, who he had lost to in the past. During this fight, this is now a new BJ Penn. 155 pounds, back to his, ideal weight class. Probably with the Ultimate Fighter, he's seeing young people kind of going over the basics, training hard, and that's where the whole cardio and training hard kind of reformed BJ Penn. So after that, they have the finale. He beats Jens Pulver for the Ultimate Fighter finale. Right after that, UFC 80. He's fighting for a vacant, at the time, 155-pound lightweight belt. He beats Joe Stevenson, who was a big, pretty top contender at the time, and gets that belt. Submission, round 2. It was a pretty brutal fight, really good. Then he gets who everybody at the time was saying, Sean Shirk. He's the guy you need to beat. He's the real champion. He got into trouble. That's why the belt got taken away from him. But anyways, he then defended it. He beat him in the round 3 in a decisive way. Just BJ looking great. Like, this is the best fighter ever. Then what does he do? Then he goes right back up to 170 and he rematches George St. Pierre. At this time, George St. Pierre had beat Matt Hughes. He is now the champion, and basically they gave BJ the chance. He's looking so good at 155. Hey, how are you going to look this time versus GSP? Now he has to get up in weight. You even see in his body mass, it's just not enough. George St. Pierre's way big for a welterweight, and he just cleans the house with him. Darn, right? BJ Penn goes right back down to 155 pounds where he has his belt, and he defends it again versus Kenny Florian. Kenny Florian was ripped. I mean, if you don't know Kenny Florian, obviously you guys know him as an announcer. Back in the day, you want to talk about well-rounded, striking, jiu-jitsu. Definitely a good competition for his way back. And he, round 4 submission on him. Diego Sanchez, one of the toughest fighters ever. He defends it again. Round 5 stoppage. There's a freaking gash across his forehead. They stopped the fight. He was losing all the rounds as it was. I mean, there's no way of him kind of winning it. But 155, he's on top of the world, right? Then Frankie Edgar comes. And that's where things start going a little crazy, at least at 155. He has 2 back-to-back fights with Frankie Edgar, loses them both by decision, but for the most part, Frankie Edgar was just too much for him. So what does he do? He reinvents himself again, goes right back up to 170 pounds, and he fights Matt Hughes, in which case he beats him round 1. Quick, too. It was a TKO is what they put it as. And like, whoa, he reinvents himself again at 170 pounds. He beats Matt Hughes, who was the former champion. And then that's where the story declines. And that's where we get to the currents. So he fought John Fitch. It was a draw. He fought Nick Diaz. Was a loss. Decision. Rory McDonald. Lost by decision. And then goes back to fight Frankie Edgar. And gets TKO'd in round 3, also a loss. And I think for the most part, that's what BJ Penn is talking about. He didn't finish his career strong. He had those 3 losses, but look at it. Nick Diaz, Rory McDonald, and of course, Frankie Edgar, top guys. And even the Nick Diaz and Rory McDonald, that's 170 pounds. These guys are giants compared to him. But he goes in there, gives it his all, and loses by decision. He's a tough Hawaiian. I'll give you that right there. Now, let's talk about Yari Rodriguez. Now, with this fight, all the questions everywhere. And this is where I say, who you going for and who do you think is going to win? And this is the most relevant for me because I'm going for BJ Penn. I've seen him forever. I always make up this fantasy story in my mind, him coming back and winning. Like, it would just be such a big moment for him. I'm rooting for the guy, so it would be great. But who do I think is going to win? Yair Rodriguez. Now, so let me talk about Yair Rodriguez. So his stand-up, his kicks, he's already done 5 rounds. I know people say, oh, well, all of his kicks, he's doing too much. He's going to tire himself out. Well, he's already done that in 5 rounds. And he's going against BJ Penn, who's always had the question mark, or not even a question mark. he's never been good lasting the late rounds, and that's where people end up taking advantage of him or taking him down and keeping him down. He's great at not getting damage once he's down. He's better more on top game. But Yair Rodriguez is just so well-rounded. This is now a new time in MMA. Back then, like with Jens Pulver, he was just one of the few guys that was so well-rounded. But then you run into a GSP, who's super well-rounded and huge. So at this point, it's gonna be hard to beat him. But let's talk about what BJ Penn can do, and I want to hear you guys in the comments. Tell me your guys' input. Who you're going for, and how do you think they're going to win? Or even BJ Penn, if you don't think he's going to win, how do you think he can win? And for me, it's definitely standing up is too much of a dangerous game. Yair can manage his distance very well. The kicks are ridiculously devastating and unpredictable. It all needs to get controlled. So for me, as a top level jiu-jitsu guy, as someone who clinches pretty well and fights up close very well, BJ Penn hopefully can get on the inside, get whatever shots he can, get him against the fence, take him down, and I think a submission. Now, in current interviews, Yair's already talking about this of, I know of his ground game, and I know I've done jiu-jitsu. I know jiu-jitsu. I've been training on my jiu-jitsu. I'll submit him. I don't disagree. But I think that's where BJ Penn's advantage is going to be. That's where I would love to see it on the ground, and just see what he can work from there. But at the end of the day, this is a tall glass for BJ Penn to drink, because it's a young guy and really not the most traditional in the way of, predictability. This guy is very unpredictable. All the kicks that he throws, his stand-up game is just I just think too fast, too dangerous. And BJ's gonna just really gonna have to play a smart game, and on top of everything, hopefully his cardio does it. I believe it's a main event. It'll be 5 rounds. It's gonna be crazy. So I'm gonna end it right here. I want to hear you guys in the comments. Tell me what you guys think. Who's gonna win? What are your picks? This shirt right here, I'm doing a promo. I'm gonna put it in the description. LTM BJ, 25% off. You can get on this shirt from now till the end of Sunday. But I hope you guys love the fights. Hope you love this video. Give it a thumbs up. Share it around with the friends. Let me hear you guys. Until next time, peace.